deal with problems by ourselves. So when men have problems, we try to solve it, and we try to solve it by ourselves. So we'll leave me alone and be quiet. And a lot of relationships get in trouble with that because a woman, for example, come home and start to talk, blah 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 blah. And the guy will think, what the hell, I don't want to listen to this. So he'll try, as a problem solver, will try to think, why don't you just do this? Try to give a solution. The woman will like, wait, I just want to talk. I don't want you to give me an answer. I don't want you to give advice. I just want you to listen. She thinks, you're not listening to me. You're just saying that, so I'll shut up. So she'll get this. The guy's like, oh, she keeps talking. So he gets this, and they fight, and, you know. But if people just understand that, you know, you just think differently. You just, if the guy understands that, hey, if I just sit and listen and don't give any advice, she'll appreciate that. You know, and after she'll calm down. If the woman understands that every time he gives me advice, he's trying to help me, he's not trying to shut me up, you know. And also, it makes your relationship smoother. So when I write a story, for example, I try to do that. For example, you know, for example, the way when you try the difference between Manny and Will, the way they deal with sex, that's it. That's pretty much it. Well, Manny, you know, being a guy's guy, will always try to answer and give suggestions and frustrate or not really listen. Will always just listen, and you know, and that shows you why, you know. Of course, you can tell where I try to push the reader, you know, in a way. While you can see it as entertainment, you know, it's about, at the same time, I think for society, our entertainment is actually where we actually learn more, because it's not being shoved in our faces like in school and I have to do this, you know, because we're and if you craft the stories, you know, it seems real, people believe that, you know, this is accurate. They can, I think they can learn something about, you know, a lot of, because a lot of people already make mistakes because of what they hear in movies and songs. So for me, my contribution is to create stories that counter that, you know, stories that help us learn to work better together, you know, to have more harmonies in our relationships. And I think, you know, that I think many of our problems are rooted in that. You know, problems with our parents, problems with our friends, with our loved ones, girlfriends, boyfriends, wives, husbands, are that, you know. So there, for me, that's why I work very hard to not just write a story for the sake of, you know, I don't like writing stories just that are formulaic, you know, just to, because the temptation, especially in the Philippines, the big temptation is to use formulas, you know. I know if for example, like the Lel thing could easily be a formula na parang, syempre it's the unrequited love. So you just, you know, play up that situation over and over and over again. You know? But if you don't analyze why is that, and how do you fix it? How do you get over it? Then you're just trying to get an emotional response to the reader just to sell, make them like your story. But if you don't analyze it, you don't try to give suggestions about it, you know, then I think you're passing up an opportunity to solve a serious problem. You know? Because people who have unrequited, you know, who obsess over certain people, have to figure out why are they obsessing over certain, you know, because if they don't figure that out, they blow things out of proportion. You know? I mean, there are some, I've heard of some children of some of my titas and titos who committed suicide over some guy, you know, it's so excited, not excited, but it happens, you know, because these are people who don't think about, oh my God, why doesn't he like me? They don't really try to figure out why did it hurt so much, or why shouldn't it hurt so much.
So in a way, you're like giving advice to the society.
Yeah,
about
in a way, it's giving relationship advice, you know, but not in an overt way. You know, like, you know, I don't like a column, here Kuya Jamie, hindi na ako ng ano ko. I mean, I could do that, but I as a writer, I'd rather do it through, when he was in the Joe DeMarco or something. I'd rather do it through stories, you know, where, because, well, to finish this long answer, one thing I noticed with my parents, whenever all the advice they told me, the ones that I actually followed were the ones they told in stories. You know, when I was young, this happened to me, and that one I listened to, but when they say, don't do this, I'm like, don't have a girlfriend, or don't when you don't know what you're talking about, and first they'd usually be right, but then I noticed I'd only listen when they not tell me directly to do something, but when they share, you know, because when the whole point of a story is that you make the reader go through the experience without really going through it. So, you know, for me, the best way to, that's why I like writing for young people, you know, young 20s to teenagers, about relationships, because usually we try to, you know, I went through that, to make the same mistakes I did. And a lot of people get impatient. They say, just don't do this, don't do this. And of course, most young people when they go to stop listening, like, I know you don't know, you're old, but you don't know what things are like now. Not understanding there's certain universal truths about it. But when it's a story, kind of like Cast. I mean, you think about Cast, all that stuff that I went through there, that happened in the 90s. There was so, but because I learned how to craft it properly, so when people read it, they feel like they went through it, or they can see that it actually happens. They believe it, and then, so when I say, so if I depict something about relationships, they go, oh yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. And I think that's not a bad thing to contribute to society.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.